Right here.
Yes.
Nope,
Can you feel that? Yes, can you feel what's about to happen on this field, man? Can you feel what we about to get into, dog? And it ain't gonna be getting to ourselves. We're gonna dig into somebody else, man. So whenever you in that doggone game, whatever you gotta do to get whatever that's in you out to come out and play your behind on, let me get you. They don't respect us. They don't know what I. Let's dominate this thing. Hold in on three. 1, 2, 3, hold it.
All About the Birds welcomes you to the live pregame show.
All right, welcome back to the All About the Birds pregame show, everybody. I'm your host, Michael Bauer. Joining me to my left is Johnny Uleka, so I'm filling in as host. Not as handsome as we normally are, as Chip would say. We miss him. We miss Jeff as well. Hopefully next time we're all back together. If you are out at the West End in Quakertown, show some love for Jeff. Show some love for the bartending crew. Everybody here is fantastic. Hopefully you're not too hungover from the Halloween party last night. But if you are in the house, and if you're not, you should be. Make sure you come get a raffle ticket. We got 2 hats to give away. One is a baseball cap, and the other one is for a winter hat, which is on its way. Sorry to hear that, but it is on its way. So thank you for tuning in to the pregame show. Again, I'm Michael Bauer, and this is Johnny Uleka. Johnny, how are we doing today?
I think we're doing pretty well. Hopefully the Eagles get this W today, but we got a lot to talk about.
Well, just wait until you see my prediction. You may or may not like it.
That's not great.
All right. So do you want to talk about some injuries before we get into anything else?
So they did release the inactive list for both squads. So the Eagles, of course, Reed Sinnett and Mac McCain, Jack Anderson, Sua Opeta, but the big ones are Zach McPherson. Anthony Harris again is not playing, and linebacker Eric Wilson. I think that's a big one, especially with the trade deadline coming up on Tuesday. That's a big one there because now he's been starter all year. And all of a sudden, now he's inactive.
He did not start last week, though.
Okay.
I believe it was sorry, I was sharing the link with my dad.
TJ Edwards started.
TJ Edwards got to start, correct.
So it gives more time to those linebackers. And we've talked about it. This linebacking core has been pretty bad. We see it game after game with Singleton and Wilson. But again, those 2 guys are out. And then for the Lions, the big ones, the one that was, I think, unexpected was Jamal Williams, their backup running back, who plays a lot. Him and Swift, but he's inactive. But also their nickel corner, AJ Parker, which is really big because their secondary depth is super, super thin. So again, there's another big one there. So with those guys, and then Darren Fells, their backup tight end, is actually inactive as well. So there's some big misses on the Detroit squad as well.
Yeah. So let's talk about the Eagles. We covered some of that. Miles Sanders on IR. We talked about Eric Wilson. I'm curious. Let's get into our first point here. What are we thinking about the Philadelphia Eagles running game with no Miles Sanders? We did see the first drive last week. Nick Sirianni did some things that we want him to do. Jalen Hurts was under center. They were running the ball really well. They spread the ball around great. Jalen Hurts actually looked like a competent NFL quarterback when there was good play calling. So what are we expecting? Jordan Howard called up from the practice squad. Who's starting? Is it Gainwell? Is it Boston Scott? Is it Jordan Howard? What do you think? How are we going today?
I think you're going to see Gainwell start. I think Jordan Howard's going to get a lot of play.
Okay.
They have to run the ball. They have to do what they did. You saw that first drive and what they did. Even the first drive in Carolina, they played really well. It seems like they get that first drive, they get that spark, they score, and then all of a sudden it's just flat. It's flat for 3 quarters until the 4th quarter when they're down, and then all of a sudden they want to wake up. You can't have that. They have to keep going under center, play action, work to the strengths of the quarterback. You can run the ball. It's going to put the defense on their heels to be able to do the play action and to be able to, make defenses guess. And that's what they have to do. If you're too predictable, the defense already knows what you're going to do. And that's what we've been seeing the last couple of weeks, which is very frustrating as a fan to be able to watch that, to kind of already know what they're going to be doing. You can't be dropping Jalen Hurts back and just having to throw the ball. Now, of course, this game lines up with Detroit with all the injuries in their secondary and how thin their secondary, inexperienced their secondary is. So I expect the Eagles to pass the ball, but hopefully they use the middle of the field and they use the running backs because Gainwell's great out of the backfield.
Yes. And I will say, scouting Kenneth Gainwell coming out of the University of Memphis, he was a steal in the 5th round, by the way. I didn't see the athleticism on tape that I see him right now in the NFL, and usually it takes some time. Great with the ball in his hands. One thing I do not agree with, last week after Miles Sanders got hurt, Nick Sirianni, I understand that in order to grow a garden, you got to plant the seed. We get it. You're doing that. These press conferences are getting worse. Do not run Kenneth Gainwell into the middle of the line. If Miles Sanders gets hurt, use Boston Scott.
Yeah.
I went to an autograph signing from Boston Scott a couple weeks ago. The dude's 5'6", but he is a thick, 5'6". Maurice Jones-Drew could run between the tackles.
Yeah.
Boston Scott can run between the tackles. That's not Kenneth Gainwell's game.
No, and you have to use the players to their strengths, what Nick Sirianni had said when multiple press conferences before the season started. He wants to use the players to what they're good at, what their strengths are. Kenneth Gainwell's strength isn't that, and that's why you also brought up Jordan Howard. Jordan Howard's strength is in between tackles. He's a 6 foot, 235-pound running back. He's a big, bulky running back. Use that to your advantage, and I think that they need to do that now. Detroit's defensive line, I think the best part of their defense is probably their defensive line.
Okay, we could say that about our defense as well.
Exactly.
And look how that's gone.
But the back end, the linebackers and the secondary are super inexperienced and not very good. So you're expecting the Eagles to be able to score points. But again, we've said this before. It's almost at that point where you can keep saying it ad nauseum, but until it happens, it's basically we're just guessing at this point.
So let's talk about line. Apparently, reports have surfaced that the Eagles are actively shopping Brandon Brooks. And there's talks that they're being active shopping him before the trade deadline, which is coming up, or in the offseason. This is something that you and I talked about personally. I think Brandon Brooks, Lane Johnson, guys that could possibly be shopped.
Yep.
Who steps into Brandon Brooks' place? Is it Dickerson, who I think is better on the left side? Or is it Jack Driscoll, who I'm expecting Jack Driscoll to start today at right guard?
Yeah.
What do you think?
I think you keep Dickerson over at left guard. I feel like that's his strength, playing that position. Driscoll's played well on the right side. Even Nate Herbig is okay on the right side as well. So I think you have options there on the right side. Brandon Brooks will not be back next year.
I would agree with that.
It's either possibly if he's healthy enough to be dealt at the trade deadline. If not, then he'll play the rest of the season out. But again, I don't see him back next year because you save a big chunk of money. So there's a lot of decisions, and this game is going to make it. If they lose again, there are going to be a lot of players. I know people talked about Fletcher Cox being on the trade block and teams calling. The only way you get rid of Fletcher Cox is if they offer you a first or second round draft pick, because the dead money is, it's so enormous. But this game is going to show you a lot of what they're going to do come Tuesday in terms of who they get rid of, because you could see them also get some players who have multiple years on their deal as well to help build this. But this Lions team that they're playing, they have to just look at it, one game at a time. And it's an 0-17, but they fight. They play hard. And we had Dave Burkett from the Detroit Free Press on Wednesday, and we asked them about Dan Campbell. Is he on the hot seat? And he said flat, no, he's not. They expect this. They're trying to build something with this team. They're trying to build with these young players. So the thing is, you're playing an 0-7 team that really have nothing to lose, honestly.
We got a good question here from Chip. And by the way, if you've not met Chip, he is more handsome in person than he is on your screen. Let's see, there he is popping in saying hi. Look at he's a beautiful man. He is saying if the Eagles lose today, is everybody on the trading block? So yes, but also no. And here's why I say yes, because you obviously want to cash in on the value of these players.
Exactly.
However, if this is an evaluation season, you cannot accurately evaluate both your other players and your coaches when you have no quality products put on the field. So if you trade Fletcher Cox, Javon Hargrave, Brooks, if you trade Lane Johnson or Rodney McLeod or these guys, the team is going to somehow get worse. It's always possible to be worse. So, Chip, that's a great question, but you just can't trade everybody. You got to have some people to pop in there, every week.
You could see some of the guys who are on one-year deals being, explored.
But who wants those guys?
Some teams, playoff teams, some veterans, you may see something like that. But in terms of the young players, I don't think so. Honestly, everyone's on the trade block. I think the thing is, if you lose this week, there's going to be more about the head coach and the offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator, the coaching staff, all in all, and possibly the quarterback, depending on how this game how this game plays out, unfortunately.
Chip also chiming in and saying, big news today, special teams coordinator for the Detroit Lions, Dave Phipp, isn't coaching today due to COVID. Okay, so there could be an advantage there on special teams. Jalen Reagor, I think, is actually good as a punt returner. I like him better as a returner, better when they had Quez Watkins back there.
Yeah.
I like Boston Scott as a kick returner, although I don't anticipate seeing that today. He's obviously going to have a bigger role in the offense. On another note, Matt Nagy is not coaching today due to COVID as well for the Chicago Bears. So,
yeah.
And I mean, Justin Fields, a lot of people saying that the Eagles should have taken Justin Fields in this last draft. He's not looked great.
No.
But Nagy, I don't think he's a good.
It's about the coaching staff, and look at also Jalen Hurts with this coaching staff. And what we've said beginning.
Do we miss Doug Peterson yet?
I'm not going to say that, but
It's a thought. It's a thought.
putting your players in the best position to win and doing what they do well. Has Nick Sirianni done that with Jalen Hurts? And you're going this game against the Detroit Lions defense, who is not very good. I wrote some numbers down here, which is
Our numbers guy Johnny in the house.
I had to take a look, and it was pretty startling when you look at it. I guess it's not when they're 0-7. Can't really be that startling, but
True.
they do blitz 27% of the time. It's ninth most in the NFL.
The Lions did.
The Lions do.
Okay.
So the Lions are a high blitz team. Do they blitz against Jalen Hurts, who has the escapability? That's a little thing to think about with that.
I still would, because if you notice, he does not handle pressure in his face very well at all.
So again, they blitz a lot. So advantage or disadvantage.
Sure.
22.9% pressure percentage, which is funny because that's 23rd. They blitz a lot, but they only get 22% pressure.
So their guys aren't getting home.
So they're not getting home.
Okay.
7.3% touchdown rate touchdown rate. So touchdown percentage.
Okay.
Which means that's 32nd, which is the worst in the league.
Okay.
So 7.3% of the time they're giving up a touchdown.
So this is a game that, from what you're telling me defensively for the Lions, this is skewing towards the Eagles winning
Especially where have the Eagles struggled?
everywhere.
Most of them. The red zone.
Adam is saying, do we think the Eagles will run the ball more since Jordan Howard is playing today?
I hope.
They haven't done anything.
we-
Well,
we've
short
been
of the
saying that
first
every
drive
week.
last week.
We've been saying it every week, but the last year, 84% red zone touchdown percentage they give up. So 84% of the time when a team is in the red zone, they're giving up a touchdown, which is 32nd in the league,
I mean, that's huge. It's
especially when the Eagles struggle in the red zone.
Yeah. I mean, this is a game. All right. So, we were talking about coaching. This is a question I have. People are asking me, I don't know. They ask me, like, I own the Philadelphia Eagles or I'm in the front office. Is Nick Sirianni a one and done coach? I don't think he is, because I don't think Jeff Lurie likes to be a guy looking for a new head coach every year. My opinion is they would probably replace Howie Roseman, please, Jeff Lurie's puppet boy, before they replace Sirianni. But what do you think, Johnny?
I just can't see them, being one and done with him, because that's just saying that they failed. I just don't see it. I can see Howie Roseman if they keep struggling. Now, if they keep losing and lose terrible, I guess it's going to be something that's going to be talked about. And good manners, though.
Yes.
But
As I said
I,
last
I don't think so. I don't think Sirianni is going to be. I know a lot of people want to say get rid of him, get rid of him, get rid of him. But again, we still have the rest of the season. I just don't see it. I can see Howie Roseman because he's the one that got this coach. He's the one that did a lot of these signings, did a lot of these trades, these draft picks. There's a lot on his plate. But again, Jeffrey Lurie has to be the one to call him in the office and say you're no longer needed.
This is true. You were talking about defense. Let's flip the script here and talk about our defense. We have a strong defensive line, even without Brandon Graham.
Yeah.
I would love to see Derek Barnett, and I'd love to see Josh Sweat get home a little bit more.
Yeah.
They're also being played in a technique that they're not familiar with. They need to be outside, let go after the quarterback. That's besides the point. Our secondary is pretty strong. Steven Nelson, Avonte Maddox in his natural position, playing very well.
Very
Darius
well.
Slay on the outside. Linebackers are a concern. Can we slow down the intermediate game? TJ Hawkinson, all-pro, Pro Bowl tight end. DeAndre Swift from Philadelphia, fantastic running back in his own right. Now, Jamal Williams being out helps substantially. But, Johnny, can we slow down the middle of the field, which has just been – and you know what the problem is? They don't – this defense does not disrupt anything.
No.
They do not get – they're very much a read and react defense. They're very soft. As a matter of fact, they might be softer than 10-ply Sharman. This is some of the most pathetic defense I've ever seen in my entire life.
The problem is against a quarterback like Jared Goff, what they did last week with Derek Carr, you can't just sit back in zones and just let a quarterback pick you apart and go right down the field, dink and dunk, because that's what Jared Goff does well. He can hit, he can easily work his way down the field with little dink and dunk passes. So what kind of defense do you come out with? Do they bring a safety down in the box? Kayvon Wallace is active. Do they
Which
bring him more
could be
down?
huge.
More,
And he's a good box safety. I don't like him in coverage so much. I think
Exactly.
there's time for him to develop, but he's a good box safety carrier.
So do you then get a little bit more pressure? Do you possibly bring some pressure? Because play a little bit tight coverage, not so much in terms of deep zone. Play only one, maybe single high safety, because the Lions can't really stretch the field. Khalif Raymond is like their number one target. And, they have St. Brown, who's, a rookie. But otherwise, yeah, TJ Hawkinson is pretty good in the middle of the field. You can use him in a multitude of ways. But Swift is going to be their go-to back today. But what else do they really have? Kadarius Hodge, Tom Kennedy, Trinity Benson. They don't have any. All these names are guys who are basically practice squad players. So you shouldn't be playing single. They shouldn't be passive.
That just tells me that today's going to be, for some reason, a Geronimo Allison day.
He's actually inactive.
Okay, well, today's not going to be a Geronimo Allison day. By the way, I called for the Eagles to sign him 2 years ago. I thought he would be a good depth guy, veteran guy to have in the locker room, stuff like that. But you're right about the Lions wide receiver core. So they do have some players I like, some younger players. I was an Amon-Ra St. Brown fan. Quintez Cephas is on the IR with a broken collarbone. I actually wanted the Eagles draft him. He's a 5th-round selection out of Wisconsin. But you want to talk about a wide receiver that can block, which is
my God,
well, it's important. It's important.
It is
when
important.
we run the ball 4 times a game, you need to have a good blocking wide receiver. So they do have some talent, but we're talking Khalif Raymond. Yeah. On any other team in the NFL, the dude's probably a 5th wide receiver. Like, he wouldn't even sniff the field in Philadelphia, and our wide receivers have been inconsistent, and that's being generous. I think we could say that.
I think that's being very generous.
Yeah, so I mean, the middle of the field is what really scares me. Now, with Eric Wilson being inactive, TJ Edwards has been maligned for not playing the pass well. That hasn't been the case this year. I thought TJ Edwards has made a case as kind of a complete linebacker. I'm not saying he's an all-pro world beater.
No.
I would still love to see Jordan Hicks back in an Eagles uniform so he can go on IR again. Can't stay healthy here. He's a stud in Arizona. But could we see TJ Edwards take the next step in this game and asserting his foothold on the defense and possibly maybe helping the defense turn a corner this week?
Well, for TJ Edwards, what I like about him is he's that linebacker. Now, he's your biggest linebacker, but he is a little bit of a thumper.
He is.
He will help you in the run game, which Eric Wilson and Alex Singleton the problem is when Alex Singleton has an open lane to just, shoot through,
He's out of position.
When he finally hits that, when apparently it just, a squirrel will find, blind squirrel will find a nut. So
This is true.
he gets way too over aggressive, and that's the knock on him. Don't get me wrong, I love the aggressiveness that he plays with.
It's great.
But the problem is when you get over aggressive, you're missing, and you're letting offensive linemen get up to you, and he's not reading it right. He's not getting off of blocks. TJ Edwards can get off of blocks, and he can help with the run game, which the Eagles need help with, in the run game to be able to stop the run. And I like Davion Taylor. I want to see these younger guys. I think the Eric Wilson experiment has kind of run its course, and I know he started, of course, the first how many games of the year, and then last year kind of a decreased role, and now he's inactive. So it kind of puts you to that point where they know what they kind of have in him, and he was in Minnesota, so it was a similar scheme, a similar defensive models that he knew, but it just unfortunately it's a 1-year deal, a prove it deal. He didn't prove it, so let these other guys play and kind of see what you got.
Yeah. So if I'm Jonathan Gannon, I'm trying to keep everything close to the line of the scrimmage. I'm almost stacking the box and not having their safeties in another city because they're what are they, like 20, 30, 40 yards off the ball? And I get it. Gannon doesn't want to give up big plays, and I get that. But the likelihood of a big play against inferior competition,
yeah.
I mean, when the ball's in the air and when the quarterback is dropping back looking for a big play, a lot can happen. Strip sack,
Yep.
A sack,
Yep.
A fumble. When the ball's in the air, interception. You could there's ways to get guys off the route without actually touching them. So things, and I understand not wanting to give up a big play. That's something that you do in the fourth quarter when you're up by 7 points.
Yeah.
And there's 2 minutes left on the clock. Not when you're down by 14 in the first quarter and your guys are they're everywhere. It's, what Chip put up on the screen here. Eagles defense is downright offensive, and that's a great point. I mean, the offense has looked bad, but the defense is doing nothing to help them out. No. It's not letting these players get into a rhythm. Let's talk about the offense a little bit. Okay, so Johnny, we were talking a little bit before the game here. I'll tell you, before we get to the offense, I just want to talk about the all-time series between the Lions and the Eagles. So the all-time series, it's as tied as you can get. They're tied at 16-16 and 2 ties. So these teams have been playing each other since 1933. Detroit won the last meeting 27-24 on September 22nd, 2019. They've won the last 3 meetings. The first ever meeting between the two teams was when the Lions were the Portsmouth Spartans. They won by a score of 25-0, and that was October 18th, 1933. The only ever postseason meeting was a 58-37 Philadelphia win. And who was the coach of that team?
That was Ray Rhodes.
Was that Ray Rhodes?
95. Ray Rhodes.
That wasn't Kotite?
That was the Lomas Brown.
Okay, okay, my bad. So there you go. That was the only time that they met in the postseason. So we haven't played the Lions well. We haven't played them well in Detroit either. But let's talk about the offense. Before the show, we were talking about Jalen Hurts, and now that Joe Flacco has been traded to the New York Jets for a conditional 6th-round pick, the parameters of that are that is Tampa Bay's pick. He has to play and start so many games, and then it becomes a 5th-round pick, and that would be the Jets pick. So we're hoping Flacco starts.
Yeah, not this week, but no,
Mike White is starting for the Jets this week.
Gardner Minshew is now QB number 2. So you have, yes, you are wearing his shirt today.
I paid for it.
But what's going to happen if they struggle out of the gate? If he has a bad game, the noise is going to get louder. What Philadelphia is all about, apparently, the backup quarterback and QB controversy. It's just
reason.
Exactly. It's just what they like. I don't know. But this is a game where if he struggles against this type of defense, this type of team, an 0-7 Detroit Lions team, is it going to be that point where maybe he needs to sit back and maybe just sit and learn? I don't know. I know the whole Gardner Minshew talk. I know we've talked about it, but my feeling on it is if Jalen Hurts has a tough game, I think the noise is just going to get louder and louder and louder for Minshew because now he is QB2. He is one snap away from being the quarterback.
It's true. So here's my thoughts on Gardner Minshew. When I say I want Minshew as the quarterback, I'm mostly just antagonizing people. I'm quite good at antagonizing people. My wife is here. She can attest to how good I like to antagonize people. But my whole thought is this. I miss fun football in the city of Philadelphia. I miss hope. I miss thinking that they can actually freaking do it. When Doug Peterson was the head coach up until last year, when they were down at halftime, I said, Doug can fix it. Jim Schwartz can fix it. Nick Sirianni, Jalen Hurts, and Jonathan Gannon have done absolutely nothing to instill any confidence in me whatsoever that they can do it. If this is an assessment year, then you need a guy that could deliver the ball. Is Jalen Hurts a baller and a gamer? Yes, everyone on Twitter. Jalen Hurts is all of those things. And to the people in the DM saying that I'm a racist because I don't like Jalen Hurts, you're wrong. That is not the case at all. What Jalen Hurts does, he doesn't set his feet, constantly underthrows people, and he cannot stand up in the face of pressure. Is Gardner Minshew the answer? No. I'm not sitting here and telling you, Johnny, that he's the answer. Did I buy the shirt? Yes, because I'm that guy. What he can do is he can step back. He can step up in the pocket. He can throw receivers open, which Jalen Hurts doesn't do. If you want to evaluate the rest of your roster and you want to take some L's doing it to get better draft picks, you need a guy that can pull the trigger and put guys in the right position. How many times was Devontae Smith last week credited with a drop that was a pass that was behind him?
Yeah, a number of times.
Now, if rent is due, Jalen, put the ball where it needs to be. I don't want to hear these stupid things. Rent's due. Rome wasn't built in a day. Just win a freaking football game.
Well, if rent's due, they got one nice landlord because they haven't been evicted yet. So I think if you look at Nick Sirianni and the quarterbacks that he's had to work with, if you look San Diego, Los Angeles Chargers, Phillip Rivers, he's not a mobile guy. If you look at the Colts, Phillip Rivers was there last year. Before him, you had, I'm not sure, was he there with Andrew Luck?
Sirianni?
Yeah.
He was there with Andrew Luck, and he was also there at the end when Jacoby Brissett was the quarterback for a year.
But Jacoby Brissett isn't a running quarterback. He's a pocket passer.
Jacoby Brissett is awful. Let's be real.
Still, but I know I don't know if when Sirianni was hired, if really it was in the eyes of Wentz or if it was in the eyes of Jalen Hurts. Because Jalen Hurts, I don't know if he really fits what Sirianni wants to do. So if Minshew does play, is that then, I don't know, did it fit more his system?
I don't know. When Nick Sirianni was hired because of the connections to Frank Reich and the type of offense that they had, my first thought was they're keeping Carson Wentz. That was my first thought. He wanted out. And you know what? Hey, listen, Johnny, if you can get a new job because you don't like your job, if I can get a new job because I don't like mine, Carson could do it. Aaron Rodgers can do it too, right? These guys, this
Russell Wilson.
Russell Wilson could do it too. Russell Wilson could wear the number 3 in Philadelphia. I'd be happy with that. I don't think this is the type of offense that Nick Sirianni wanted to run, because you look at what the Indianapolis Colts did and what they still do.
Yeah.
But he's not doing himself any favors, not trying. If Miles Sanders gets 1 carry for 2 yards, you can't just go, okay, we're done with that, which Andy Reid used to do constantly. So Chip is saying outside of Chicago, they drafted a guy, and the 49ers, they drafted a guy that's Justin Fields and Trey Lance, respectively. Are we the only fan base that talks about who's playing quarterback every week? I'm sure there's others out there. I just don't care. I mean, right now, the Dallas Cowboys are deciding between Cooper Rush and Dak Prescott. Prescott is
Central Michigan. Cooper Rush, yeah, from the MAC. I don't know. That's a good question, Chip, and I think it's a valid question, too. For a while there, I would say the Patriots were. So Cam Newton was still there. I think Chip may like this, but if the Eagles were to lose, I got the perfect headline for the morning paper would be, I soiled myself. And it's going to be a picture of Hurts and Sirianni if they lose. Dressed up as sunflowers. Yeah, Will Smith. Or Venus flytrap. I don't think Chip likes it. Chip doesn't like it. He likes it. We miss Chip. Chip, come back, man. Just get in your car, drive up here and hang out with us. Watch the game. There he is. To all you people watching at home. So we got about another half hour yet. If you are close to the city of Quakertown, please considering stopping by the West End. Jeff and his staff are fantastic. See, this guy knows. Were you here for the Halloween party last night? You were not, because you're still standing. So apparently everybody had a good time at the Halloween party last night. But Jeff and his staff are fantastic. Game day specials. They got lots of good stuff. So make sure you come down and make sure, don't be cheap, tip well. Okay, 20% on your, everybody that's here, they're working hard to make a living. So don't be cheap. And if my dad's watching, he's a notoriously cheap tipper. Funny thing is, my dad, I taught him how to use YouTube. He subscribes to one YouTube channel, and it's this one. And this isn't even my channel. I have my own podcast. He doesn't even subscribe to that. Oh, because he knows what's best. This is ridiculous. So make sure you come on down to the West End. Say hi to Jeff. Say hi to Kirsten behind the bar. She's doing a great job. She's a rock star back there. Order some food. I had the Cuban sandwich last time I ate here. Fantastic. It was incredible. Do you like Cuban sandwiches? No. You don't? No. Well, you should try one and like it because it's very good. So again, if you're close, come on down to the West End. If not, make sure you're tuned in here. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. That helps us. In case you're wondering, when you hit subscribe, it helps us reach more people. It helps us grow, which means a better product. And we'd love to do this full time. That'd be great too. So, Johnny, before we get back into the game, just give people a rundown. What else do we have on the AAT Sports Network that they could tune into on a weekly basis? So on Monday nights, Chips does his show, Chips and Dish. Definitely tune into that. Yep. That's usually, it all depends on the time. I think it's more like 9:30 now. Make sure you check it. It's all Philly. And he does such a great job with, he gets a little animated, but again, Philly sports, it's what we're going to be right now with what's going on. On Tuesdays, Burning Bridges with former NFL offensive lineman Jeremy Bridges. I produced that show. He's such a great host. Oh, I see what he's saying. My dad's saying, I heard that, Michael, I am not cheap. Yeah, not good. But Tuesday nights, that's at 10:30. Jeremy is on Arizona time, so it is on the Pacific coast, well, close, Pacific West. But definitely tune into that on Tuesday nights. Wednesdays, of course, is our weekly report, AATBirds weekly report. Always tune into that. We have tons of great guests that we have coming on. This week, we have a Los Angeles Chargers, the Chargers wire Gavino Borquez, so definitely tune into that. It's just great insight there. The Chargers do have some fans too, oddly. They do, more than Jacksonville Jaguars. They're all in the United Kingdom. Say that. So on Thursdays, our Across the Pitch, which is our soccer union show, Mike and Dave do such a great job with that. So definitely tune into that. And then on Fridays is Birds, Beers, and BS with Peanut and Jeff. Very, always animated. It's always great content that they always put. That is a YouTube exclusive, so you can only watch that on YouTube, which it also is Dynasty Decisions, which you do, which drops on Tuesday mornings at 6 a.m. And then we have a Barrera's Bucket, which is college basketball show from Mike Barrera, one of our writers. He drops that, I think mostly on Saturdays. It all depends, but he pre-records that. That's also a YouTube exclusive. And then, of course, we have our pre-game shows and our post-game shows. So, a lot of stuff that we got going on, but definitely tune in, like, subscribe to all our channels and stuff. You can get all the content that you need. So the All Authentic Talk Sports that I can't talk. All Authentic. Just say Talk, AAT Sports Network. AAT Sports Network has you covered Monday through Saturday, it sounds like. So all they need now is a flyer show.
and I don't know any Flyers guys that do podcasting. So, but let's get back into the Eagles here, okay? It's you know what, let's make some predictions now, and then we can kind of work around that. How's that sound? Then we could do our locks a little bit later. Johnny, what are you predicting for this game?
In terms of score, or are we ready to tell to the end?
Give me a win, give me a score. What do you think?
All right, so I want to say it's going to be Eagles are going to score 35 points. It's going to be an easy win. I want an easy win, but yeah, I'm going to go 21-20 Eagles. Okay. So there you go, a game that they barely win.
Is there any reason why you feel that way?
I don't know. I'm just trying to give them a win against an 0-7 team. So
I got it's this. I'll tell you what, this gentleman over here, he looks like he may or may not like what I'm about to say. So I'm actually predicting a 31-22 Detroit Lions victory.
Wow.
They score 22 points every week, the Eagles do. I don't feel it right now. And, I always wondered why are these guys on the pregame show? Why are they picking against the Eagles? It's their team. That's who they cheer for. Give me a reason to cheer. Give me a reason to be optimistic. I've been an Eagles fan for over 30 years. I can't remember the last time that I really didn't want to watch the game. And I will, because I can't not watch it. It's what I get the FOMO, fear of missing out. Yeah. But Chip is saying 28-21 Eagles. And hey, listen, if I'm right, I'm right. If I'm wrong, I got proved wrong and my favorite team won. And this gentleman over here is saying 17-10 Eagles. Okay, he's pretty 31-17 Lions. Okay, there we go. So we got some people that are thinking the Lions hang a 31 spot on us. It's definitely possible. So you know what I mean? It's one of those things. I'm worried about the middle of the field, and there's always that one guy against this team that you just don't expect, and they explode. Chip he had a fantasy question. Adam is saying 27-17 Birds. Okay. Chip has a question. Is DeAndre Swift about to explode today? Slated for 21 points on Yahoo for fantasy. I think so. I mean, the way that and just real talk here, the way that the defensive line plays their gaps and the linebackers never come up to meet anybody. They just wait for people to come to them. You know what this reminds me of? When I played football in 7th grade, and they would say, just read and react. Don't blitz. Don't do this. Don't do that. Just wait for him to come to you. That's what this reminds me of.
Yeah.
Well, how do you play defense like that?
Well, Swift is the only guy. It's Jamar Jefferson, who's a rookie. So you're going to see a lot of Swift today.
Jamar Jefferson actually is not a bad prospect. I remember scouting him for the Dynasty Rewind. I liked what I saw. I hated that he was buried on the depth chart. He's more of just your basic plotter, though. So if he gets in the game, if let's say DeAndre Swift, he's been questionable with what's he got going on? I forget. He has a groin injury. So if DeAndre Swift has to miss a few drives, Jamar Jefferson's not going to really give you anything to inspire confidence.
Yeah, DeAndre Swift's going to be the focal point. We know that. Jamar Jefferson will get some, here and there, he'll get some carries. But again, you got to stop the run. Make Jared Goff beat you with the receiving core that they have. Because if you're able to let DeAndre Swift run all over the place, that play action game is going to be it's going to hurt the Eagles defense because they're going to bite.
It's amazing.
Especially if they're not stopping the run, they're letting the gap, they're not sounding their gaps, not playing sound football, not tackling, which we've seen that come this season too. So
it's amazing, isn't it? What a run game will do. It opens everything up. I know Jeff Lurie wants to pass, but come on. But is this Nick Sirianni trying too hard to appease his boss?
I think a lot of it has to do is if you look at some of these games, when you're down 3 touchdowns or 17 points, just trying to run the ball, they're trying to pass to get back in the game. And I feel like that's a big issue is they're passing because they're trying to get back into the football game. And by the time they get somewhat close, the game's over. Okay. As you've seen, a lot of these games that are close, these 10-point, 6-point, 8-point losses, they're really not that close.
Yeah, so we got a comment here. The Lions will have a lot of success with the screens and short passes to the tight end. Yeah. We covered that before. I completely agree. And TJ Hawkinson, or is this one of those cases because the Detroit wide receiver core isn't anything that great? Could we see Darius Slay cover TJ Hawkinson? If you look at what Darius Slay has done against guys like Travis Kelce, obviously they didn't play against Darren Waller last week. Foster Moreau did have a good game. However, Darius Slay has done pretty well slowing down these legitimate tight ends. So, and we were saying before the show, I can't think of anybody that wants this game more than Darius Slay. I mean, it would probably be more so if Matt Patricia was still there, but
well, of course, you're going back to Detroit. You want to be able to make some plays. Get an interception against the team that you used to play for. Even though it wasn't at the best terms because of the head coach that was there at the time, he's no longer there. So the animosity is not there. He loves Detroit. He said that, but of course you want to go in your visiting team, the team that you're with now, and get the W. It's that's with anybody who leaves and comes back to any team.
We do have the Chargers next week too, so that's a tough task here. This is a legitimate question. It's a little bit weird. Is this a trap game? Because you're playing an 0-7 team, and you could be looking ahead to the Chargers.
I don't think at 2-5 you shouldn't be looking ahead to anybody. You should just be focusing on the game,
but it does
and winning
happen.
The football game, because
it does happen.
It does happen, but you have to be prepared and be ready for this team. You're playing a winless team, so you have to be ready to get up and get the win. Getting wins in the NFL is not easy. So the way this schedule is breaking down for you, you try to get the wins where you can, and this is a game where you can get a W.
Charles has a good question. How many times will they cover Deuce Staley coaching against the Eagles for the first time on the coverage? They will talk about that as much as they talked about how last week was National Tight End Day.
The one thing I do want to say is
constant.
I'm happy that Chip spelled Deuce right. I see it way too much where it's Deuce, and that's my biggest pet peeve.
Okay. Piggyback off Chip's question here, though. Okay, and Chip is saying that Wilson is a healthy scratch, not injury related.
Yeah,
so that could be traded. Okay, that's good. That's fine. Should Deuce Staley have been considered for the head coaching job here?
I think they just wanted to go outside the organization, honestly. Okay. I don't know. Hopefully he gets an opportunity, but again, no one else interviewed him. It was just the Eagles.
This is true. Yeah, it's one of those things. On paper, the matchup really favors the Eagles. That's what worries me. Chip's saying video of Howie waiting at the end of the Lions tunnel to hug Deuce a few minutes ago. Okay, well, yeah, but that's one of those things where Deuce Staley meant a lot to this organization for a long time. To me, that's no different than Zach Ertz wearing the wristband that says Eagles on it. And let me ask you this. On Twitter all week, I see these younger Eagles fans like, oh my God, Rasul Douglas in a Packers jersey.
Please.
Oh my God, Zach Ertz in an Arizona Cardinals jersey. You seem to forget Brian Dawkins walking out in a Denver Broncos jersey, or Jeremiah Trotter in a Washington jersey.
People need to stop with the Rasul Douglas. The guy's been on like 4 teams since he left the Eagles.
Yeah, and the same thing with Sidney Jones too. Yeah. I mean, it's one of these things where if these guys go and then they're all pros to Pro Bowls consistently week in and week out, I completely understand getting upset. Rasul Douglas played pretty decently when he was here.
Yeah,
but could have been a victim of Schwartz's scheme. Although, could we say if Jim Schwartz was still the defensive coordinator of the Philadelphia Eagles, would we have 2 more wins possibly? It's a legitimate question.
It is a legitimate question, no doubt. Definitely legitimate.
Yeah, I mean, okay. Let's say we take the coaching staff out. We bring in our coaching staff from last year. I think the team's better. Jalen Hurts played better for Doug Peterson as a head coach. The offense looked better. They ran the ball.
I don't know.
The wide receivers are better now than they were last year.
I'm just going to say they're just probably going to be the same, honestly.
I did hear
they were 2-4-1 last year at this time.
Okay, you're missing the point. I did hear.
I'm missing your point.
I did hear also there was a scenario. So do you remember 2 years ago when they drafted Jalen Hurts?
Yes, I do.
CeeDee Lamb. They wanted to get CeeDee Lamb.
Yes, I do.
They did try to. So people they crucify Howie Roseman for not getting CeeDee Lamb. And in his defense, he tried. He tried to move up to 16 with the Atlanta Falcons. They said no. The Falcons took a guy in the second round, or in the first round, we had a second round grade. So we kept our pick. We took Jalen Reagor, and that second round draft pick was Jalen Hurts.
Yep.
So it's amazing to think. Thank you, Dan Quinn, for screwing everything up, and now he's coordinating the Dallas Cowboys defense, which actually looks like a competent defense. Had they accepted that trade, which they should have, because the Atlanta Falcons needed more than a cornerback there who's not even that good, we could have had CeeDee Lamb. We could have had our old quarterback. Maybe things were different, right?
There's a lot of shoulda, coulda, woulda. If you go back to many of the drafts, there's a lot of missed opportunities because if you look in previous drafts, the missed opportunities could have led that you didn't need to draft a receiver. and you could have addressed other positions. So,
Sure.
unfortunately, all that comes down to is Howie Roseman, and we've only said it time in, time out, time in, time out. We mentioned how many times it's almost, at this point, it's really why even say anything anymore because everybody knows it. Just Jeffrey Lurie is the only one that needs to really know.
I want to address Joe's comment here. So he's saying Howie Roseman needs to go. Deuce Staley needs to be the head coach. Plain and simple. There's another way I could put this, and I think just about every other Eagles fan agrees. Nick Sirianni is not doing the job. He's not going to be able to do. He's a high school football coach trying to coach NFL style, and it's not working. Sorry, but Nick's got to go, and Deuce needs to be the head coach. So I don't think Nick Sirianni is doing the best job. I feel like he's in over his head. And he's saying it's all because of Howie Roseman. I 100% agree with that, by the way. Also, the coach who is now the head coach of the Los Angeles Chargers, who we will play next week,
Staley,
he declined an interview with the organization because Howie Roseman's the head coach.
I mean,
GM. I'm sorry, forgive me. So
Go
that's something interesting to think about. So we have a guy. So now, you always talk about toxic locker room culture,
Yeah.
but we might be talking about a toxic front office culture. If this is deterring potential head coaching hires, it could be deterring free agents, draft picks holding out, guys like Fletcher Cox not wanting to get up and play because he thinks there's no relief in sight.
Yeah.
So, Joe, you make a great point. I agree with some of that. I don't agree with all of that. I think going back to Deuce Staley is a step backwards and not forwards. Once you're over that bridge, you don't put your car in reverse and go back over it. You have to keep moving forward. Again, I don't think Nick Sirianni is a one-and-done coach because Jeff Lurie will never admit that he's wrong. He would probably say something when he fires Howie Roseman along the lines of, we appreciate everything he's done, blah, 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 blah.
So here's another scenario I thought about. What happens if the Eagles come out and they blow out the Lions?
Which is possible.
It is possible. But then what's going to be, is it going to be like it was week one where everyone's, this team, that
Searching
false,
for Super Bowl tickets.
that not that far, but that false hope of, what this team is and what people think this team is.
I don't think so. And the reason why is because after that game against the Atlanta Falcons, they were 1-0. If they win today convincingly, they will be 3-5, and they beat a formerly 0-7 football team. So I think the comparison is huge there. And going back to the quarterback situation, I did hear on some sports talk, you can bench Hurts for Minshew and you can go back. Well, they did it for Donovan. Donovan at that point in his career had been to a Super Bowl. He had been to numerous Pro Bowls. He just had a bad game. And I got news for you. Kevin Cobb didn't come in anything in that game against the Ravens, do anything either to really inspire confidence. So it's just, I feel like this season starting week 2 has just been on a crash course, just destined for disaster. That was very prophetic, by the way.
Yeah.
That was good hosting right there.
So with this game, do you have any X factors or any player you're thinking is gonna, any keys, in terms of the Lions or the Eagles? Who do you think is on both teams? Who do you think is an X factor on both teams?
So for the Lions, I know that their offensive line is banged up, so that's going to be the X factor for them. I think their head coach is smart enough to know, get the ball in your best player's hands. It's DeAndre Swift.
Yep.
CJ Hawkinson. Hopefully they scheme these guys open. And for the Eagles, our offensive line hasn't been bad, really. I understand that a lot of these guys are young and probably shouldn't be playing yet. So I'm going to say the Lions are the X factor with Miles Sanders being out, who again, I think Sirianni did a really good job of game planning for Miles Sanders last week, getting him involved early. That injury just seemed to completely throw the team completely off track. I'm going to say the Lions. If we can run, if we can get the ball out of Jalen Hurts' hand fast, we have a chance. And if they do the same thing, they have a chance too, because the middle of both of these defenses start good.
So 2 players that I have is Detroit side. I'm going to say Trey Flowers,
who wasn't really supposed to be playing this much, if I'm correct.
Yeah.
Okay.
But again, one reason I'm saying it is because of, maybe he blooms and shows you some promise.
So you're saying we're trading for Trey Flowers?
No.
Okay.
But as for the Lions, I think their pass rush can be.
Johnny, can I interrupt you for 1 second? You
Yeah.
did say who makes flowers grow better than a gardener. You said,
I knew you would
text
bring
me
that back up.
You text me that.
I knew you'd bring that
Okay,
back up.
I'm sorry. Continue.
And then for the Eagles, I'm going to go with someone that you are very fond of and you really like.
Okay.
Is a player like Quez Watkins.
I love Quez Watkins. I'm a huge Quez Watkins fan. For those of you who don't know me,
a beat up Detroit secondary. What makes it better to have a player like Watkins who can stretch the field? Maybe a couple deep balls.
Yeah.
Maybe get a touchdown. So
they do like to throw the deep ball. Yeah. Although Jalen needs to get rid of that ball a little bit faster. When you have a guy like Quez Watkins, he can get under it.
Yeah.
You don't need to wait for him to come back. The dude runs a 4.3. Just rip it and let him go get it.
Yeah. No, I agree with you there. But those are two players that I can see a little bit under the radar, type of, not that everyone talks about, but some players that I can see possibly being an X factor in this game, having possibly a big game.
How would you feel with Miles Sanders being out? If they do commit to run the ball a little bit more, maybe Jordan Howard, Boston Scott, Kenneth Gainwell, these guys are going to get carries. Yeah. They need to. How would you feel about seeing more Jalen Reagor in the run game? Some end arounds, maybe even some direct handoffs. He has a good stocky build. He's fast. He's good with the ball in his hands. So if your quarterback has a hard time hitting him on some of these routes that you're designing, manufacture touches another way. Screens, handoffs, do something.
I think they have to get him the ball because I think getting him the ball early helps with his confidence.
Especially against this defense.
But it helps with his confidence and to be able to – he runs a lot of – I feel like he runs a lot of lazier routes. And,
I would agree.
If he knows something's not coming to him, it's just giving him the ball early, gets him going, gets him in the game. And I feel like that could definitely help this Eagles offense and help everybody else because you're going to be able to use him as a different focal point. But the problem is they don't do a lot of that, which is so frustrating to watch. It's like the pre-snap movement and all that kind of stuff that you would hope an NFL team. You look at all these younger head coaches. You look at Green Bay. You look at San Fran. You look at the Rams. All these pre-snap motions and all these players moving all around and how it confuses defenses. And the Eagles barely do it at all.
It's funny that you say that. You're talking about some of these other coaches. I was standing at my toolbox looking out the window on Friday instead of working. And I thought to myself, maybe the hire of Nick Sirianni is more about Howie Roseman trying to be the smartest guy in the room and try to get the next Sean McVay, the next Matt LaFleur. Is that a possibility? Maybe?
It definitely could be a possibility because you see all these younger head coaches and what they're doing on the offensive side of the ball and to be able to use their playmakers and their weapons on the offensive side of the ball and be able to score points. And that's what Jeffrey Lurie wants. He wants an offensive team. He wants to score points. He wants what he sees around the league. If you watch these other games, now of course Dak Prescott most likely won't play. I don't know what they're going to do with that, but you look at a team like Dallas and all the weapons they have. And even if you look at Minnesota, yeah, Kirk Cousins is Kirk Cousins, but they still have a ton of weapons. You look all around the league, every game you watch on Sunday night or Monday night, the primetime games, I guess you want to say, all the weapons these offenses have and how they utilize them, and they get all wide open, all this stuff. And you watch the Eagles, and you're like, well, where is that? And I feel like that's the frustrating part.
It's why I hate saying, why can't we have that? Why can't we have nice things?
And it's super frustrating. And you hope Nick Sirianni can be a guy that can use what, like I said, what he said was getting your players that you have on your roster and doing what fits them. It's that's the most frustrating thing because if that's the case, you're not doing it with these players.
Yeah. Is this Nick Sirianni's way of saying, this is my system, these guys don't fit it, you have to get me different guys or I'm gone? I mean, is it possible?
It is possible.
It's true on the defensive side of the ball. We can see that.
Yeah, on the defensive side of the ball, of course, it's evident. There's holes on that defensive side of it. There's holes all over the roster, but you need some players, and the problem is with the players they have, they're not using them to their strengths, unfortunately.
No, I agree with that, and I think part of the problem too is these holes are manufactured because, like you said, Nick Sirianni is not playing to his players' strengths.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really frustrating.
You're right.
It's frustrating me. It's frustrating you. It's frustrating against everybody at the West End in Quakertown. Again, we are the All About the Birds Crew broadcasting live from the West End in Quakertown. So we've got a couple minutes yet. So if you got any questions you're watching at home and you want to throw them up there on the screen, go right ahead. But until then, let's see. I'm going to play the sound drop here.
It's time for you like a locks
All
of
right,
the week. Who's your luck?
There you go. See, Chip, I told you I had it fired up in here. So, Johnny, let's do our Eureka locks of the week.
So I can go over everyone's locks because I know Chip's, because we did ours on the Wednesday night show. So we can kind of go over those. But
There you go.
unless you want to do a lock for this game, you want to switch it up.
Let's go over our locks that we did for the week, and then let's do a lock for this game, too, if you don't mind me putting you on the spot like that.
That's fine.
Go
That's
for
fine. So the guest that we had on Wednesday night, Dave Burkett, he had
Fantastic guess, by the way.
Derrick Henry, 150 yards, 2 touchdowns. It's a good lock.
I can
You
see
had Cleveland. See, I can't even read my writing. Cleveland beat Pittsburgh 31-17. So you even got an actual score,
I do.
which Baker Mayfield is playing. So that is good for you. Chip had Cincinnati wins by 25 against the Jets. And then I had Josh Allen, 300 yards, 4 touchdowns, and a win. So there we have those locks. Now, I'm going to throw it to you first. Since you want to put me on the spot, I'm going to put you on the spot for your Eureka lock for this game. And if, Chip, you want to maybe type in yours, and then I'll say yours. We could do that too.
Chip's going to have one. He always has a good one. So my Eureka lock for this week, for this game, Dallas Goedert eclipses 100 yards receiving. I think that because the Detroit defense is that soft, that Dallas Goedert could do it, and he needs to do it. We need to get this guy involved. You move Zach Ertz for a reason. Dallas Goedert is your best playmaker on the field right now. Get him over. I'm not going to predict how many touches he has total. I'm just saying he's over 100 yards. I'd love to see a touchdown thrown in there too. It would be great. So
That would be nice.
that's my lock for the week. How about you?
So my lock, of course, is going to be a little bit surrounded by the X factor that I picked, and it's Quez Watkins.
Okay.
I think Quez Watkins is
1,000 yards receiving today.
no. Quez Watkins, I think, is going to have a very good game. I'm going to go 4 catches, 85 yards, and I'm going 2 touchdowns.
You're going 2
I'm going
touchdowns.
2 touchdowns.
Should I fire up my FanDuel parlays for that?
No, because I wouldn't do that. Because
Okay.
if you lose, then it's my fault.
If I put $1 on it,
That's fine. Go ahead.
I'll put. You know what? I'm going to put $1 on that FanDuel parlay. If I can. Sometimes they don't have every player in there as far as who you can.
I think they'll have Watkins.
They should. I mean, he's been involved enough in the offense. So, Chip, you got a Eureka lock for us for this game? His Eureka lock for this game: Hurts throws the ball 45 times minimum. You could definitely see that happening. So, I think also, Chip makes a good point here. I think Nick Sirianni overcomplicates things too. With these guys are out, we're just going to throw it.
Yeah.
We're not even going to try to run the ball. And I understand to a certain point against Tampa Bay, because they're run deep. Although he did try to soften that Tampa Bay defense up a little bit, didn't work. Doesn't work when you run out of the shotgun constantly.
No, it doesn't work at all. Stay in there.
This is a good one from Adam. My lock is Eagles give up 100 yards rushing. It's sad, but I think it happens.
Especially with DeAndre Swift.
Yeah, with DeAndre Swift. I mean, DeAndre Swift is a super, super explosive player.
Yeah,
So
I agree.
I don't know what Chip's doing backstage. Is he just motioning to me, or is he talking to his wife? What's going on? So
That I am not sure.
I'm not sure what he's doing. Oh, hey. How you doing today, sir? Let's see who that
It's
is.
just in the back.
All right, so we got 6 minutes left. So this has been the All About the Birds crew live at the West End in Quakertown. Come on out for the game. Come on out for a pregame show. We are here for all away games for the rest of the season. Who knows? Maybe Jeff will invite us back for another game too. That would be fantastic. We love coming down here. We love all of you that come out. If you're watching at home and you're close to Quakertown, please make sure you come on out. Please don't be a bad tipper. Yes, I said that about my dad. I deny it, but it is true. So, Johnny, let's give your score one last time.
I have the Eagles winning 21-20. Unfortunately, it's a super close score, but right now I don't have much confidence.
All right. My confidence is at a negative, so I'm predicting the Detroit Lions win 31-22 because we like to score 22 points. Again, please prove me wrong. Chip is saying 28-21 Birds. We had a couple people chime in, so some mixed reviews from the bar crowd about who's going to win, who is going to lose. So, Johnny, I'll tell you what, we're gonna leave it go here. Do you have anything else to say before we head on out?
Hopefully the Eagles get the win. Let's work the week on a positive here.
Here's the Eureka lock. The Eagles will run RPOs 100% of the plays. And I'll tell you what, if that happened, I would not be surprised at all.
Me either.
At all. So, like we always like to end it here on the show, and this is my first time actually getting to lead it out. We do it with a very emphatic but also sad and sometimes
Go Birds.